elections with IEBC being fully constituted. Do you think they will hold a free and fair general elections? Talk to us via SMS line of 111 and also Switch TV Kenya on Twitter, Joel Chacha M on Facebook, Joel Chacha and Switch TV Kenya. And we begin setting high standards on the kind and of course the kind of, let me just get that story, on the setting high standards on the kind and nature of jobs one would settle for, and graduation continues to render many youths jobless across the country. But as Robert Oma reports, Brian Ogutu and his 5 friends, despite holding more than 2 degrees from recognized universities, have dared the devil and settled on odd jobs considered to be for the illiterate in the society just to pay their bills. Take a look.
The gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen by day in the country, and all this is attributed to the increased rate of unemployment among the youths, and university graduates are forming the bigger portion of this number. Today, we get to interact with a section of degree holders who have decided to do odd jobs that are assumed to be for the illiterates. But the big question is, what is really ailing the youths?
Yes, we are graduates. So what? We've got the papers.
The first thing about this job is that you must not fear height.
Walking the streets of major cities in the country, and this is no longer a new scene. Job hunting, which is the order of the day for many Kenyans. Switch TV did a spot check in various universities. It emerged that streets are flocked each day by jobless graduates who have now opted to do any kind of job, including casual. But Brian Ogutu and his 5 friends are among those graduates who have taken up the blue-collar job to survive after their efforts of hunting for employment.
Because checking on the internet, there are companies that offer the same. We couldn't find any.
Necessity is the mother of invention. It is for this reason that the 6th have ventured into the risky vector closer to the hot sun, climbing and cleaning roofs, a job that many graduates wouldn't dare to take up.
Like if you see this roof is very high. Someone who is down the story could be fearing that we might fall. The fact that you find us cleaning roof, which is associated with guys who have not gone to school, makes it a challenge to any youth who think that the only thing that he can do is to go and sit on the office and to wait for 1 month, then get a salary.
As their mates continue to seek enveloped jobs, to them, with this pipe, generator and ladder, they're ready and safe to go. Aren't they a challenge?
Graduates are so many, and we just don't sit. We can't just sit with the so-called degree papers, yeah? Reason? We will never find an income of the same.
According to the 6 friends, it would be better and healthier for the young people to lower their job expectations even as they graduate and hunt for formal employment and take up clean and safe jobs as long as it pays their bills. I'm standing between a clean and an unclean roof, and the boundary is the clean roof masters. So imagine if the whole world would go green and clean. Robert Oma, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Robert Ouma. Meanwhile, digital lending has been on the rise since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, but a new report has shown that many Kenyans have, however, opted for digital lending platforms, most especially for funding their small businesses. However, a report released by the State of Digital Lending in Kenya has revealed that FULIZA is the most popular platform among 5 key digital lending platforms, followed by M-Shwari. Sazamunga with more.
According to Francis Njoroge, who is a public policy analyst, digital lending is on the rise due to lack of credit not being available in banks and SACCOs, and most people are investing in small businesses through short-term borrowing.
What has happened in this country for the last 3-4 years since the 2017 election is we have seen the slowdown in terms of credit by banks. So what has happened is banks and other financial microfinancial institutions have invested a lot of money in the short-term monthly loans. And if you look at the package being offered by Safaricom through the FULIZA, it's actually an ideal for most small businesses and also personal loans.
Francis, however, insists that the government should come up with ways to enable long-term business and personal loans from lenders to individuals.
If people are to borrow for short-term uses, then it should be used very sparingly. It means that when you want, unless you have an emergency, that's when you.
Statistics show that majority of Kenyans prefer digital loans due to their convenience and easy access compared to acquisition of loans from other credit service providers such as banks and SACCOs. Since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, an estimate of 1.2 billion shillings is being borrowed from FULIZA. The big question being, why are Kenyans opting for FULIZA?
Sasa kama umekula fee na umeamka umepata supplementary pale, lazima nitafuliza nilipe soup, nifanye soup. Alafu ya pili pale pia nitafuliza nibaye comrade chakula pale kaa na food. Ya tatu pia mzinga, unajua kaa ikifika Friday hivi na huna kitu, lazima unafuliza unakunywa pale konyagi.
Hizo mainly ni ya kuokolea majamaa kama wamekwama, mostly kulipa vitu basic, kununua food. Ukikwama kwa gari pia unafuliza, unalipa.
Safaricom's overdraft facility FULIZA was ranked as the most subscribed and most used over the last 3 months, followed by Mshwari, most users being from self-employment and those employed from informal sectors. Sazamunga, Switch TV.
We shift our focus to matters health. Kenya continues to receive an assortment of vaccines with 358,000 doses of AstraZeneca have injected into the country today morning from Canada. 4.6 million more doses are expected in the country in the coming weeks, with a batch of Johnson & Johnson vaccines expected tomorrow. According to the health PS Susan Mochache, she says that they are on track in their commitment to inoculate 10 million Kenyans by December this year. Reporter Shilang Etich with the story.
In this Qatar Airways plane, another batch of 358,000 doses of vaccines arrived into the country as Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochache received the consignment from the Canadian government.
Welcome, probably one of the most important visitors to Kenya in a long time, 450,000 vaccines. No one is safe. For Canada, we strongly believe that no one is safe in this pandemic until everyone is safe.
With the uptake of those receiving the second dose being placed at 40.6%, whilst the adult population having been vaccinated standing at 2.96%, the PS says the government is still on course to providing the jab to more Kenyans by the end of this year.
Canada has committed more than $2.5 billion in international assistance in response to COVID-19.
Another batch of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which the Kenyan government paid the African Union to secure them, are set to arrive in the country from tomorrow. Shilangetich, Switch TV.
On matters politics, Deputy President William RUTO has hit back at the Parliamentary Committee on Administration and National Security's hearing as a plot to settle political scores using false and cooked data. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiangi sat before the committee yesterday, where he revealed that Deputy President William RUTO is guarded by a security detail of up to 257 personnel. David Kagina with the details.
As a clapback to the Parliamentary Committee on Administration and National Security hearing, William RUTO says the Interior Ministry choreographed its appearance in Parliament with an intention to unjustly conduct his lifestyle audit. The DP further throwing shade on the unmasking of his properties by saying what was used as a lifestyle audit was not done to perfection.
Waliongeza ingine kidogo ambaye sio yangu, pengine nitawasaidia kwa sababu kwa properties 10 waliandika about 70% ni true, ile ingine si ukweli. Kama ile wanisema ati mimi niko na 10,000 acres huko ya IEBC, mimi sina. So hiyo waende watoe.
Na mimi nimesema kama hiyo shamba ni bure hivyo, hiyo ya IEBC na haina mtu, si upatie hii waraia waende wagawe waishi huko.
Na walikuwa wanatuambia hauna biashara, umeiba. Sasa wametuambia uko na biashara nyingi. Sasa tumejua mahali pesa inatoka. Sasa all along they've been telling us stories, oh hiyo pesa inatoka kwa serikali, hiyo pesa inatoka mahali. Sasa jana walituambia Deputy President akona biashara fulani, akona biashara fulani. So there is an element of business.
His allies also appear to be agitated by the Cabinet Secretary Interior Fred Matiangi's move.
I really feel very, very ashamed that in a government that was formed on the basis of uniting the country, that cabinet secretaries like Fred Matiangi like Musheru, people who've never been councillors, they've never even been MCA, have the audacity and the courage to insult the second in command in the Republic of Kenya.
And I say this without any fear of contradiction because I heard it from none other than President Uhuru Kenyatta. Rais mwenyewe ndio alituambia mahali ufisadi imeongoza Kenya ni ofisi yake. Hiyo ofisi ilikuwa na Matiangi, ilikuwa na Kibisho.
Sasa anasema ati kwa deputy president hapana state house, hapana state lodge, ndio hapana lidwa na GSU. Mimi nauliza kwa Matiangi iko GSU ni state lodge? Na kwa Raila? Na kwa Kalonzo? Na kwa Musalia? Asichukue sisi kama ni watoto.
However, Ruto noted that it was regrettable that issues at hand had been sacrificed at the altar of political propaganda. David Kagina, Switch TV.
Away from that, the COVID-19 pandemic has destabilized Kenya's economy from job losses to retrenchment and low business sales. This has forced Kenyans to look for more ways to maintain their social and financial class. But how legal are they doing this? Madam Jahid explains how illicit financial flows, family known as wash, is operating in the country and the serious implication that comes with it. Take a look.
Kenya was ranked 9th in the world in illicit financial flows 2020 during United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. According to financial experts, the country could be the hub for money laundering. It ranges from flashy cars, expensive brands and night outs with expensive booze. You have probably heard your friends or even relatives talking about how they're excelling at wash business. But what exactly is wash kind of business? Policymaker Francis Cairo.
One is the printing of fake currency. The printing of fake currency where we print fake dollars or fake Kenya shillings. And that process is what people call wash. But in addition to that, wash is also money laundering. And money laundering is the cleaning of money that has been made illegally.
According to policy Francis Cairo, forms of illicit financial flows include fake money scam, gold wash scam, tender scam, ivory trade, and among others. Black money or wash syndicate is fairly active across Kenya, especially in three main cities of Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu. Despite frequent warnings from national police, new victims continue to fall prey to the scam. But how does it happen?
What funds do is also destabilize the flow of cash within the Kenyan economy. So for example, you will have a lot of funds flowing into the country. You will have, for example, the destabilization of our political system because we have people who are voted in and they have a lot of political power.
Kenya's effort to curb illicit financial flow has been a headache to security forces, as culprits are not often sentenced due to external pressure.
So people who, for example, are suspected of laundering hundreds of millions are given bond of maybe $1 million or even 500.
However, Kenya has criminalized money laundering under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act in 1994. The act allows property derived from or used in drug trafficking or money laundering forfeited. Kenya being the major financial and trade hub in East Africa, it is vulnerable to money laundering and terrorist financing activities. And if wash money syndicate will not be controlled, the economy of the East Africa community will be affected. Mariam Jahid, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mariam Mjahid. 11 minutes past 7 p.m. We're due for a short commercial break, but just to remind you on the top story of the day, our main focus after the break will be having, of course, Nudin Kagai, who is a lawyer, just to discuss on what it means now that we have a fully constituted IEBC. The 4 new commissioners have been sworn in today. That is, have been actually taken the oath of office earlier today, of course. And just any questions that you have, be sure to text us over 111 444 111. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Breaking Today. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Teresia Washira. Moving on, President Uhuru Kenyatta has kick-started the preparation for general elections by appointing the 4 new IEBC commissioners who will fill the existing gap and attain quorum that was hindering the commission's major decisions. The new 4 IEBC commissioners have today been sworn in by the Chief Justice Martha Koome. The new IEBC commissioner are Justice Nyang'aya Cherop Masit, Juliana Chirera and Francis Wanderi. One of the commission's priorities will be to update the voters register, revising polling stations as the population has changed after census was conducted. According to IEBC Act, only 700 people will be served per polling station. That saw 154 polling stations in just concluded Kiambaa by-elections. Well, and now in studio I'm joined by Nudin Kagai, who is a lawyer, just to discuss on this particular issue. Now, Nudin, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Let's begin with this. We have the 4 new commissioners who will now be joining IEBC. What will be the relationship, between the 3 commissioners who are existing and the 4 new commissioners?
First and foremost, they don't have to be bosom buddies or have dinner so they can be close. What we need from them is the observance of Chapter 6, that is leadership and integrity. Because you see, IEBC is marred by issues of integrity, and also coming from the 2017 election, the voter needs to gain confidence. And so how they relate, you see, now we have a quorum. After a very long time, we have a quorum, and it's up to them, for them to rise to the occasion. We see, we have seen different statements from the IEBC. There's a time they say they're not prepared, they need money. There's a time then they came back and reverted and say, oh, we are ready, subject to funds. So at the end of the day, what we need is that they need to work together, whether they like it or not. Because at the end of the day, that is their duty. And they need to help the Kenyan voter gain confidence so that they know when I wake up in the morning, the chilly morning, or either it's raining or not, and go and exercise my democratic right, my vote counts for something. Yes.
And on this matter, on the timelines, of course, they're coming into office just around 10 months to the general elections. Is that enough for them to prepare for to hold credible, free and fair elections?
I believe those who have been there had plans. So now that they have enough manpower, if the plans were in good order, everything will move. But the challenge they face is the funds. From where I sit, I believe the judiciary, judiciary, as per the constitution, the judiciary needs, it has a judiciary fund that is yet to be activated. The IEBC needs such a fund for it to be independent. Because now, there are some quiet murmurs somewhere. People are saying that these 4 commissioners might be sent there courtesy of certain influential figures who have a stake in the elections to come. So we don't need such scenarios. What we need is the independence of the IEBC. And for that to happen, where you don't control the money, you cannot be independent. Yes.
And what do you think should be their priorities right now?
The most important thing is actually voter registration, because we have those people who are not eligible to vote in 2017 are now 18 years of age. They need to vote. We have those who would want to change their polling station, or maybe would want to change the constituency they are voting in, or county. So the most important thing right now is the to update the voter registration, so people can be ready to vote. Because every single election, general election, we have issues where people say, I go to the polling station, my name is missing. So something like that should never happen again. So they have a very small time. The window is very small. 10 months is a very small time. So what they need to do is they need to work like from tonight. They should be working over, actually strategizing on how to move from there. Their swearing in was kind of dull and low-key, but at the end of the day, so long as they work, that's what the Kenyans need.
And of course, there have been calls earlier on by especially ODM leaders, wanting IEBC chair Wafula Chebukati to be ousted. Are we, expecting that maybe now that they can easily replace them?
Now, if they do that, now that now takes us back, because now we have a quorum. Now that means you have to fill the position again, because that means the 3 who are there, they have a problem with them. So we fill 3 new people. So they come up with new ideas, new strategies 10 months to an election. That means our elections will be chaotic. Because you see, as Maraga nullified the election in 2017, he said the election is not an event, it's a process. What is a process? A process is for us to have a general election. What have you been doing for the past 5 years? You realize that is the process. To the day we have the election, what measures did you put to curb election fraud, to make sure that the vote actually counts? That process is tedious, is very long, it needs a lot of time and planning. So I don't see the essence. It might be political, you know, in politics, people feel comfortable when they want their people somewhere. But at the end of the day, we need to look at this thing from a holistic view, where you think about the Kenyan first. So when now the quorum is full, and then you decide to send the 3 home, so we go back to the same process we've seen again. It doesn't make sense. I believe what we need for IEBC to gain confidence of the Kenyans, the IEBC needs to uphold integrity. All the commissioners. And the other thing, this fear aspect, that the others, there are some who we know who ran away when it got too hot. You know? Anyone who has become a commissioner, you realize that the work you're about to commence is not going to be easy. Threats and intimidations will be there. I'm sure even from today, they'll be getting calls. So you need to have you need to be strong at the end of the day and put Kenyans before anything else, so that we can be able to move forward. And because at the end of the day, politicians have to realize that there is life post-2022 August. So the IEBC should make sure that we have a better life post-2022.
And just, of course, for the benefit of Kenyans, how long should an IEBC commissioner serve?
You know, it depends at the end of the day. Because you see, they are different. There's a CEO, there's the chairman, and these are the commissioners. So at the end of the day, one, your age also really matters. Because, you know, when it's time for you to go home, you have to go home. So, but in Kenya, we rarely look at the tenure. Because if you look at every single IEBC commission that we've had, before we had Kivitu, you know how he was removed. You look at Isaac Hassan, you see how he was removed. Actually, Chebukati is the longest serving. And so at the end of the day, the politics interferes. And so we hope this time it doesn't interfere, because people should be able to work independently so that they can be able to serve Kenyans. Yeah.
And maybe just your final thoughts on the whole issue of IEBC now that, of course, we are approaching the general elections. Of course, we're expecting a lot to be happening during this period.
Yeah.
Do you think they're strong enough to handle all that?
We are waiting to see, because the 4 commissioners, I don't know them personally. And I believe as of yesterday, the members of parliament were saying that they should be strong enough to persevere the insults, the threats that will come their way. So if you're not strong-willed, at the end of the day, you will crumble and you will cause chaos. So they need to be strong-willed, and they need to know that, you know, there was a joke I was making with a friend of mine when we had these vacancies, people were applying. I told them 1,000 ways to die, apply for an IEBC post. So at the end of the day, they need to realize that they have to be strong-willed, and they have to be patriotic. You know, patriotism comes hand in hand with their job, because you respect what the voter says. And in politics, they say, let the people decide. So what the people decide should actually matter.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you so much, Nudin, for your time, of course. He's a lawyer just shedding some light on the whole IEBC issue. The electoral body is now fully constituted. And he will still be on tipping point from 7:30 to 8:30 in Lincoln Nambugu. Be sure to catch his insights right there. Moving on, ODM leader Raila Odinga has vowed to ensure that BBI proposals are implemented through Parliament after its collapse at the Appellate Court. Our very own Nahare Chimea reports on the meeting that Odinga had with the MERU leaders in efforts to court them ahead of the general elections.
ODM leader Raila Odinga continues to make efforts to climb the mountain, trying to lure the rich vote region. Today, the leader met with a section of MERU professionals and business community representatives to pitch his agenda months to the 2022 general elections. With Odinga having been demonized in the Mount Kenya region, the leaders want a guarantee of enjoying development projects in order to influence the region to back Odinga's candidacy in 2022.
Propaganda plays a role, but if it's carried overboard, it can destroy a nation. And we as Kenyans must be very careful about the use of propaganda in our midst. But many people have been demonized in the world. You remember
Odinga continued to express his dissatisfaction with the BBI ruling that he says was meant to benefit the common mwananchi by channeling more resources to counties.
I myself am convinced that the BBI had a solution to our problems. And you just say, put it on the side right now, but we will ensure that it's implemented.
It is being speculated that President Uhuru Kenyatta might not step out to personally lead campaigns for ODM Chief Raila Odinga in Mount Kenya so as to spare him the state project tag. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Harriet Chimea.
Meanwhile, a section of political leaders from the northeastern region have today unveiled a new political movement to champion for the interests of arid and semi-arid lands ahead of the 2022 general elections. The movement, dubbed the UPYA movement, aims at providing political inclusion for leaders from the region as the 2022 elections come close. Flora Limuki now reports.
We want to shed off that tag of being flower girls and flower boys and sit on the table where those groupings will be making critical decisions.
As the fight for equal share of the national cake takes shape, a section of northeastern political leaders allied to President Uhuru Kenyatta have unveiled UPYA movement, whose flag bearer is Cabinet Secretary for Treasury UKUR YATTANI. The political plot is one fostering political inclusion for leaders from the region come 2022 general elections.
Declare accordingly the formation of a political movement to be known as the UPYA movement. Proclaim that the UPYA movement will unite residents from ASAL areas to articulate a common political position and objectives for the 2022 elections.
Yule ambaye atakuwa flag bearer ya hii movement ni CS UKUR YATTANI. So hakuna swala pale.
Their hope is that come August 9th, Northeastern will be revamped economically. In affirming his commitment to the master, Treasury CS UKUR YATTANI has affirmed that the UPYA movement camp will fully support the cause of the handshake, which is being spearheaded by President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga.
We support our President, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, and the political direction that's going to give to us.
As the UPYA movement enters the political arena of the country, perhaps time has come for the region to have a formidable force that can transform the region, which has been marginalized for decades. Flora Limuki, Switch TV.
Time to now get sporty. Kenya's Harambee Stars were held to a barren draw by Uganda in the opening Group E, a qualifying match at Nyayo National Stadium. The results leaves Kenya